Hi, I'm Stefan Brogren. I play Mr. Simpson. Also, I played Snake when I was a kid on the show, and I'm also a producer and director on the show.
What does being a part of Canadian TV culture mean to you?
Well, I think it's Canadian television. I think it's always evolving. So I think what it meant to me when I was younger was very different from what it means now. And I think when I was younger, I think it was sort of like it really was more of a cultural thing for me. And being like you know, the original Degrassi was truly Canadian. But there's something about where we're going and where we're heading where we've allowed ourselves to be leaders because of certain, you know, we've grown up with certain heroes, whether it be, you know, in television or film, Canadian television and film, that makes us want to go further than they did. Whether you were a fan of like SCTV or David Cronenberg or whoever it might be, you go, I want to take that love that I have of that Canadian experience and go even further with it. I think with Degrassi, we've actually started to do that. We're very popular. We're probably more popular in the States than we are here at this point.
Can you imagine?
And it has a lot to do with the fact that we push ourselves to find we're that one teen show where I think we really want to find the normality of being a teenager, and that's actually more exciting than being a vampire sometimes, you know?
Well, tell me, from your experience working on the show at a younger age and then coming back later, what is the difference, the main difference that you see?
Well, you know, the original Degrassi was really, there was no cash. You know, it was a situation where it was a skeleton crew. We had no hair and makeup departments. The wardrobe was like from Value Village, basically. And it was the time that's how you had to make a show. The standard of how you get a show on air nowadays has totally changed. Some people might say that the Degrassi now, the new Degrassi, is just a little too slick for them. But the truth is, that's the world we live in, and it's about being competitive that way, you know. And we love our kids to feel strong and beautiful or handsome, and at the same time, we're going to put them through hell. So if that's the least we can give them, and they're going to have to deal with the facts that they're dealing with their transgender, you know, figuring out who they are, or that they've been raped, or having a baby, or whatever it might be, more power to them.
Well, you know what though, like if you look at shows like Glee and so on and so forth, it's good to put those issues out there. People need to hear those type of issues, that it's not just happening to them, they're able to connect.
There has to be, it's a great place for dialogues to start between, I think, actually between parents and kids sometimes, you know. I mean, that's the cool thing about our show being on so long, is that we had a lot of moms up there with their kids who grew up with the original show, who are watching the new show now and going, you know, well, that's not my Degrassi, but the experience together and what they starts this crazy dialogue of them talking about like is this happening in your life? Because this is what was happening in mine, and it was very cool to hear them talk about how without the show they wouldn't have had that discussion in the first place, and I apologized.
Well, where do you see the future of Degrassi headed?
Well, I just finished locking the picture of the final episode of season 13. I just went into the writer's room and they just pitched the first 12 episodes of season 14, which we won't start shooting for several months. And it's one of those things, you know, going into season 13 or 14, you know, it's like, what's left? And I think that every year, I'm like, there can't be anything left. And then they just pitched us stuff that blew my mind. And it's like, I can't believe the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's the same emotions that these kids are going through, but life is going so fast. And what I think is so amazing is that when we started for season 1 of Degrassi Next Generation, the internet was so crazy. And there were cyber stalkers. And those stories are almost like crazy history. You know, it's dated in compared to what's going on now, and how these generations have grown up. It's all they've ever known. It's really weird and really wild. And it is one of those things that we have to address, and every time we think we've got it nailed, everything changes again. It's great for a story. It's great for us to talk about because, you know, you can't control it. That's one of the things is, like, the parents are out there and they're trying to control social media and how their kids use it. It's out. They're going to find a way, and so we might as well talk about it.
And what do you think is the influence that Degrassi is having on youth today?
Hopefully they watch a lot of what happens at our show and go, I never want that to happen to me. You know, I always say, we get a lot of fans who go, man, I wish I could go to Degrassi. It's like, no, you don't. It's the worst school in the world. If you go to Degrassi, you might die. There's a very good chance. If you make it out of Degrassi, life's going to be great, but that school's a hellhole. it's a really terrible place. I mean, everyone is going through the most awful stuff. Or you are watching individuals that you don't, in your own school, don't realize are going through the same, or going through something completely different. So it's this world that's happening. It's all these amazing experiences and awful experiences, and it's really hard not to connect with that.
And what do you think is the difference between the Canadian shows like Degrassi versus teenage shows also taking place in the States? So American teen shows versus a show like Degrassi?
Yeah, the funny thing is, on the original Degrassi, I think we were the only, I think we were the first in a lot of ways. There was a show about teenagers that didn't have a parent come in and go, you know, son, if you want that abortion, not that that was what they were doing back in the 70s or 80s, but it was like, it was one of those things at the time where 90210 was next, and which was a good thing. And then there were so many shows, and then the Dawson's Creeks come along, and those shows are so smart, and the dialogue is not necessarily real. It's like 30-year-olds talking for you know, teenagers, and that's cool and that's fun and it's great. And so there was a whole massive, like, great world of teen television. Everything now is vampires or werewolves. It's very hard to find shows. I think there's a couple shows out there that fall into the realm of true teen drama. Not that a vampire doesn't feel the same thing as a 16-year-old girl, human being, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, so when we started off, we were the only one, and then this amazing world of television grew around it. And now we're kind of feeling like we're kind of a little guy again in the sense, or like no one's doing what we're doing, which is trying to tell true stories. And listen, don't get me wrong, I love Vampire Diaries. It serves a purpose. It's super fun. And our thing is hopefully super fun and in a very different way.
Yes. Okay, now let me have a little fun with you.
Okay.
Fill in the blanks, okay?
Right.
If I controlled what was on TV, I would change everything to.
Oh my God. I would change everything to the channel that Degrassi's playing on. Season 14?
Okay, that's a good answer. What about this? If I would watch Name of Show on repeat for the rest of my life, what would it be?
If I had to, I gotta tell you, I became so psycho about Breaking Bad. I can't. I watched it with my parents. That's one of those shows that's really weird because it's like, oh my God, I'm like, am I going to introduce this to my parents? They're going to flip. And about 3 episodes in, they were so addicted. My dad was so into like the science of it all. It's like, is this real? My mom got all like, you know, this is the problem with the American healthcare system. And we started having a crazy dialogue about Breaking Bad. It's almost like an adult version of Degrassi for us. We're just talking about the social issues that would get someone to go to that point. But those shows are so strong. Episode to episode, you could watch that again. And it would be, there's not a lot of shows where you feel, I know every episode has a personality in a sense. I could watch that again easily.
So you must be really sad that the show's done.
You know what? It's better than it die a sad, slow death.
Yeah. Whoops.
Hopefully Degrassi's not doing that. So.
And last but not least, last question. Why do you think Canadian television should be celebrated?
Because I think more now than ever, we have a lot of emerging talent that is really pushing the boundaries and becoming something that's just worldwide is being taken not just seriously, but watched. And people are waiting for the next person to come out of this country that's going to be the one that they're like, well, we have to get them to write our show, and then steal them, and they go to the States. But it is one of those things where we've got amazing talent and voices here, and more than ever, it's like, I don't want it to sound like go Canada, but it is one of those things where we are constantly amazed about the young people that come into it as writers and actors and directors and producers for that matter, that are so hungry and ready to like take on the world stage. It's not about just doing their little, you know, the idea of what people think Canadian television is, a little Canadian show. It really is about doing something that they can show the world.
Very good answer.
Did that sound cheesy?
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at next year's festival.